Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Maria Naveed, and today I'm going to continue my lecture regarding the macro environment. As we have covered the actors of the micro environment in the previous lecture, and we have done the actors, in the points, we have understood that what are the actors of the macro environment. We have covered one, the demographic environment, and now we are going to discover and we're going to understand the rest of the environments. The second that we have in a queue is the economic environment. To understand the economics of any country is highly important for the marketeers, because that is what is going to define the entire spending power of the country and the imports and exports of the country. Markets require buying power as well as people. Of course, people and population is very important as per the reading of the demographic environment, but the buying power is equally important, because if there is no buying power, what are we going to sell and how we are going to sell? So the economic environment consists of factors that affect consumers' purchasing power and spending patterns. A very important thing to us as a marketer to understand that what is their purchasing power and how everybody has got the separate pattern to spend their money. So we need to understand that how the spending pattern takes place, who is influencing whom in order to cater the right thing. So marketers pay close attention to the major trends and consumer spending patterns both across and within the world market, because if we do not understand that, how we are going to produce. For example, Unilever, basically, it's a small example. Unilever actually make the products in the bigger packets also, smaller packets also, because it is actually the different kind of markets that is basically, catering the different aspects. Nations vary greatly in their levels and distribution of income. Some countries have, the different kinds of economies that we have got. Some countries have industrial economies, which constitutes rich markets for many different kinds of goods. At the same extreme, there are subsistence economies, and they consume most of their agriculture and the other part, and offer few products opportunity. Because and then there's a developing economies which is very outstanding for the opportunities in the world. So these are three kind of economies. Number one is subsistence. Number one is industrial, number two is subsistence, number three is developing, in which we include Pakistan. They are very, very, opportunity givers kind of a country, where people need to have their better lifestyles, and subsistence economies find it a very good market to serve. Then there's India's example. Consider India with its population of over 1.1 billion people. In the past, only India's elite could afford to buy a car. In fact, only 1 in 7 Indians, the population is like in a sector, the 7 people are there, only 1 could afford 1 car. But now see how the people have, you need to understand the economics of the country and then produce the product accordingly so that you can be more profitable. It's not that you produce something out of this world and there's nobody to buy it. Recent dramatic changes in India's economy have produced a growing middle class and rapidly rising the incomes. To meet the new demand, European, North American and Asian automakers are introducing smaller, more affordable vehicles into India. They have to find a way to compete with India's Tata Motors, which has unveiled the least expensive cars ever in the market, which is the Tata Nano, dubbed as the people's car. Why they have actually given the slogan of the people's car? Because it was just only for 100,000 rupees. Indian rupees. And why? Because the people couldn't afford more than that. So they made something which was of the value to them, which was actually in the pocket size of that particular market. It can seat 4 passengers, gets 50 miles per gallon and travels at a top speed of 60 miles per hour, which was not a bad bargain for a middle class or a class who cannot afford very high profile cars. The era of strong economic growth for many years was shattered by the global financial crisis that swept the world in 2007 till 2009. There was a huge banking crisis in 2007 and 2009. Why? Because these economic trends and shocks have directly impacted the consumption of goods and services across the subcontinent. Because anything that goes wrong economically has an impact on everybody who's living in that place. The following are the major economic events and more stable economic trends in the subcontinent. Let's see what are those. The global financial crisis. The seeds of the global economic crisis of 2007 to 2009 were sown in the United States when over-ambitious bankers extended thousands of housing loans to consumers who had limited capacity to service these loans. Banks defaulted as consumers had lesser capacity to pay checks. This recession in the United States also impacted the Indian subcontinent because it was something very obvious that the remittances, the portfolio, the international portfolios that were used to take place couldn't happen. So many countries in the subcontinent relied on exports to the developed world, foreign direct investments, foreign portfolio investment, work remittances from overseas, financial injections from bilateral or multilateral agencies. In order to underwrite their growth and development, we had the drop in the gross domestic product, what company was actually selling or exporting or importing. The GDP growth rates in the subcontinent has impacted the consumptions of many products and services. The buying power of the consumers were affected. Marketers are trying to address the current lack of interest and capacity by launching new low-priced versions of their products, providing trade and consumer discounts, and using finer segmentations and targeting of the consumers. Now there's another environment we're going to speak on, that is the natural environment. It involves the natural resources that are needed as inputs by the marketers or that are affected by the marketing activities. Some parts of the world are rich in natural resources such as minerals, crude oils, or vegetations. For example, Arabian Gulf has a huge reservoir of crude oil, and some parts of India are very rich in minerals. Industries clusters in a region based on the availability of the natural resources. Marketers should be aware of several trends in the natural environment. Number one, shortages of raw material, increased pollution, increased government intervention. These are all the things that we need to keep in mind before we start a business or we start marketing a product in the country. So because shortages of the raw material makes your raw material. If there's a shortages, that would impact, and we need to have the alternatives decided. We need to, curb the increased population. We need to have the idea of the intervention of the government in our policies. So these are all the things that we need to prepare ourselves for, because these would not change. We need to adapt. Concerns for the natural environment has spawned the so-called green movement. They enlightened companies to go beyond what government regulations dictate. They are developing strategies and practices that support environmental stability, because if the environment is not stable, or if the environment is not, if you're not working for the stability of the environment, I think environment won't give us much if we will not think of the environment which is around us. So we need to adapt it, and we need to have a positive intent to address it. Environmental stability is an effort to create a world economy that the planet can support indefinitely. They are responding to consumer demands with more environmentally responsible products. Some companies are developing recyclables, recycled materials and components which are better pollution controls and more energy efficient operations. For example, HP, which is a company which produces laptops, is pushing legislation to force recycling of old TV, computers and other electronic gears to bring them in the use. Companies today are looking to do more than just good deeds. More and more, they are recognizing the link between a healthy ecology and a healthy economy. They are learning the environmentally responsible actions that can also be the good business. Then there's the technological environment. The technological environment is perhaps the most dramatic force now shaping our destiny. Technology has released such wonders as antibiotics, robotic surgery, and miniaturized electronics, laptop computers, and the internet. It also has released such horrors as nuclear missiles, chemical weapons, and assault rifles. It has released such mixed blessings as the automobile, television, and the credit cards. So technology has created wonders in our lives. Why marketers need to study this environment to see where the consumers at a particular region are going towards, what are the trends among them, so that they can actually do something according to their perspective. Our attitude towards technology depends on whether we are more impressed with its wonders or with its blunders. Technological environment encapsulate forces that create new technologies, creating new products and market opportunities. The technological environment changes rapidly. New technologies create new markets and opportunities, and every new technology replaces the older ones. When old industries fought or ignored new technologies, their businesses declined. Companies that do not keep up will soon find their products outdated, and they will miss new products and market opportunities. Then there's a political and social environment that the company has to focus on. Marketing decisions are strongly affected by developments in the political environment. The political environment consists of laws, government agencies, and pressure groups that influence or limit various organizations and individuals in a given society. On account of ever-increasing globalizations, companies are affected by the socio-political environment of not only their own country but also the countries with which they have important trading relationships. They need to understand their society. They need to understand the politics of the other environment so that they can relate their products to, and then can make the productiveness of the country really high. Marketers must keenly follow the changing socio-political environment of the world in order to seek out opportunities and to address potential threats. Then there are the legislations which is regulating the business. Even the most liberal advocates of free market economies agree that the system works best with at least some regulations. Well-conceived regulations can encourage competition and ensure fair markets for goods and the services. These legislations need to be studied by the marketers in order to cater the society or segment in the best of the possible ways. Then there are the government develop public policies to guide commerce, sets of laws and regulations that limit businesses for the good of society as a whole. Almost every marketing activity is subject to wide range of laws and regulations. We need to have discussions on increasing legislations. Increasing legislations means more laws, more policies, they impact the business. And it also protects the companies. It also protects the consumers. It actually protects the interest of the society. So it actually talks about the ethical dilemma of the society. When you make a business, when you do the business, the legislations, the laws basically work for the betterment of the entire society, in which it protects the rights of the companies, it protects the rights of the consumers, and it protects the interest of the society as well. Then there's a changing government agency enforcement, and there are the new forms of non-tariff barriers in trade. These are all those factors that need to be studied in order to, carry forward our proceeding towards the understanding of the environment of the politics of the organization and the environment. Then there's an increased emphasis on the ethics and socially responsible action. There's a discussion on the socially responsible behavior. We all need to be socially responsible as an organization, because if you're not socially responsible, if we do not take the responsibility of the society's well-being, we won't be able to keep a reputation. And then we need to understand the cause-related marketing. Somehow you need to make the poverty, eliminate from the society, or you need to work for the people who are suffering from polio. This is a cause-related marketing. If you are able, you should have an intent, you should have a feel for the environmental issues, and you need to relate it with that, so that people start recognizing you for the sake of what you are, who you are, and by understanding that you are actually connected and have an intent and feel for the causes that are happening in the society. You want to relate yourself with it too. Then there's a cultural environment, very important for us to understand. The cultural environment is made up of institutions and other forces that affect society's basic values, perceptions, preferences, and behaviors. People have got the different preferences depending upon what their cultures they have. They have got their own basic beliefs and values, with which that is a basically sphere in that they think. They absorb a worldview that defines their relationship with others. The following cultural characteristics can affect marketing decisions. Persistence of the cultural values. Of course, people in a given society hold many beliefs and values, and for them their core values and beliefs have got the highest level of persistence. They believe that what they believe is the best belief, and you need to understand it as per an organization. You cannot enforce your belief into their beliefs. For example, in Asia, most Asian believes in working, getting married at right ages, giving to charity, and have faith in religions. These beliefs shape more specific attitudes and behaviors found in everyday life. Core beliefs and values are passed on from parents to children and reinforced by schools, religious institutions, businesses, and governments. Secondary beliefs and values are more open to change. Believing in marriage is a core belief. Believing that people should get married early in their life is a secondary belief. Believing in religion is a core belief. Believing that one's dress should reflect one's religiosity is a secondary belief. Marketers can actually affect the secondary belief but not the first ones, because core values are very hard to change. Shifts in the secondary cultural values. Although core values are fairly persistent, cultural shifts do take place, but much more slowly. People in Indian subcontinent had over the centuries and adapted many diverse cultures to create a richness of their own. The 100 years colonial rule of the British Empire left its imprints on a variety of areas such as dress codes, job preferences, etc. In addition, exposure to the Western culture and living practices through media such as TV, cinema, books, and magazine has had an influence on the cultural values and outlook among young people in the subcontinent. Since independence, youth in countries like Pakistan are slowly but steadily coming of age and asserting and being proud of their traditional values. There's a discussion which is going back to the roots. These people, Khadi people, have gone back to the ethnic trend, celebration of Basant. These are all our cultural values, cultural rituals, cultural festivities that the brands have to understand, and they can actually make their mark while understanding the cultural values of this particular part of the world. You can see the major cultural values of the society are expressed, that how people think about themselves, how people think about others, how people think about the organizations, and how people think about the society, how people think about the nature, and how people view of the universe. This is all for now, and I hope that you people have understood the entire concept of the major marketing trends, and you people have understood that why is it important for the organizations to understand. If you do not understand anything, you can actually contact me and get the answers to your question. Till then, thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.